Okay, I always start with quick vertical scan. Looks like we have verbs, so it's going to be a verb, conjugation, tense, or maybe even number issue as well. So let's read. In the 70s, Janaki Amal, a prominent botanist, emerged, so we're in the past tense, as a powerful voice in India's environmental conservation movement. Her exhaustive chromosomal survey of plants in Silent Valley, a pristine tropical forest in Kerala, India, that is home to nearly 1,000 species of native flora, many of which are endangered, blank, instrumental in the government's decision to preserve the forest. So what's the subject noun? This is going to be our verb. We need the subject noun. So her exhaustive study, her exhaustive survey of plants in this forest, everything's sort of that are home to nearly native flora, many of which are endangered. Literally everything from here to here is different parentheticals. So I could break this out to her exhaustive chromosomal survey was instrumental in the government's decision to preserve the forest. The survey is a singular subject noun, and we have to jump from the verb beyond our various dependent clauses to that subject noun, typical on the SAT. And it's past tense, as we know from emerge, so it's going to be was. It's not were. They were is singular or plural past tense. They are is plural present tense. And have been. These are very typical answers we get for these particular verb conjugation issues. It's was, are, were, and have been. They almost repeat several times over. So anyway, not almost, they do. D is the correct answer. Okay, quick vertical scan again. I can see it's going to be a verb, tense, or number issue here. Aren't, wasn't is going to be number, and whether it's hasn't been or isn't, those will be issues as well. So the artistic talents of Barbara such and such, most known for her 79 historical novel Sally Hemings and the conversation it inspired, blank, limited to the realm of prose. Hasn't been, wasn't, isn't, aren't. So she's most known for her past novel, The Artistic Talents of. So it's not her herself. We have of, most known, and then most known is extra information describing her parenthetically. So note I have sort of a dependent clause. I've got a preposition, which is another sort of dependent phrase. And the subject noun to this verb is going to be talents, the artistic talents. So talents are plural. So it isn't going to be talents isn't, and talents wasn't, and talents hasn't. Those are all singular. It's got to be plural, aren't. The artistic talents aren't limited to the realm of prose. That's the correct answer, D. Quick vertical scan. Again, we've got a verb conjugation issue. Not so much a number issue, but I've got the infinitive, I've got ing, I've got ed. Notice this is infinitive, present participle, past participle, and forging. Well, that could be, depending on what else is there, we'll have to figure it out. But this suggests we're going to look at a sort of a finite versus non-finite verb. So the non-finites are anything that can't be conjugated in the infinitive, or a participle, like a present or past participle. A finite is or can be conjugated as the main verb of the sentence. This probably will be the issue. Let's take a look. Working from an earlier discovery of Charpentier's chemists Emmanuel Charpentier and Duda, winners of the 2020 Nobel Prize in Chemistry, they recreated and then reprogrammed the so-called genetic scissors of a species of DNA cleaving bacteria to forge a tool that is revolutionizing the field of gene technology. So that would be my guess. It would be the infinitive here. So the main conjugated verb here is they recreated, they programmed, and that is not, that is finite. So when we get to this part, I'm going to see something that's non-finite. And it could be forging, cleaving bacteria, forging a tool. Not quite right, especially after cleaving. Wouldn't be forged past tense and wouldn't be end, cleaving bacteria and forging a tool. Well, let's just double check that to be sure. So-called genetic scissors of a species of DNA cleaving bacteria and forging a tool. No, that's not right. It's going to be infinitive, right? Bacteria They use this scissors of a bacteria in order to, for the purpose of, to forge a tool. That's the right answer. 6 is the right non-finite verb that goes in there, the infinitive. Okay, do a quick vertical scan. Got these really long answers that talk about many critics, Kurosawa's use, and that there are is always a tip-off that we have, if you didn't recognize it otherwise, that this is a misplaced modifier problem. And we need to find the right noun. So this dependent clause, remember that structure is always dependent clause, comma, and blank. So here's my dependent clause, here's my comma, and I have to figure out the right noun, and it must be a noun that's being modified by this. So in assessing the films of Japanese director such and such, so who would assess the films of a Japanese director? Many critics would assess the film. That's going to be our right noun. That's being modified by the previous dependent clause next to it. This is going to be right. Let's just check the others. Kurosawa's use of literary, no, it's not even Kurosawa. This is his use of literary sources, and that's not what's being modified. There are is always the wrong answer, not even a noun, so it will never be the right answer. D, the focus of many critics. No, it's not the focus. The focus does not assess films. The critics themselves assess the films. A is the correct noun that's being modified by the dependent clause before it. And that makes this a properly placed correct modifier. A is the answer.